And as you know, there was one late item request from Mountain Air Rescue, and then there has been a few minor amendments to the planning report on 335 Anderton. Hopefully everyone's got those pages. All those in favor then? The adoption agenda. Motion is carried. We have one delegation this evening. That's Mr. Jose Pinto from McLean Consulting regarding the traffic study for 335 Anderton Road. So if you would come forward to the podium, sir. And Councillor Price?
Yes, and I'd like to declare a conflict of interest as the executive for the late Hope Spencer, who was the owner of 290 Anderton Road and 2026 Culmouth Avenue, which on two sides of that property. And
okay. All right. So let you excuse yourself, and then we'll call you back when the time comes. All right, Mr. Pinto, welcome, and you have the floor.
Sure. Well, as stated, my name is Jose Pinto. I'm with McLean Consulting Services, and I am the author of the traffic report that is submitted for 355 Anderton Road. I think as you already know, the main objective of that report was to evaluate two access options to that subject property. One was off of Anderton Road, and one off the other side, on the west side, onto Wallace Avenue. And in the end, our conclusion was that the Wallace Avenue access would be preferred. And I understand there's some opposition from residents with our conclusion, so I'd just like to give you some background as to why we reached that decision. So I worked on a lot of traffic impact studies.
Mr. Pinto, if you could address your comments this way, council is who you're presenting.
Sorry, okay. I worked on a lot of traffic impact studies in my life for municipalities and for transportation of Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure. And I can tell you that, as an example, if this roadway, Anderton Road, were under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Transportation, we would be told flat out right from the beginning that you would not be allowed access onto the major roadway unless there was no suitable access alternative. And the reason for that is that it's typical amongst traffic engineering. It's one of the principles we apply in all our studies. You put driveway accesses onto the lower classified roadway. And the reason for that is to maintain mobility and safety on your major roadways. Because obviously introducing a direct driveway introduces conflicts and has safety implications on the major roadway and affects mobility through traffic. So this is a very good example, and so the thing, what it comes down to in this case is, do you have a suitable alternative access option? And in our opinion, we do. So we did do some traffic analysis for both options, and what we found was that for the Wallace Avenue option, you do have obviously more of an impact on some of the internal intersections, those being Gladstone and Comox, and Cook and Anderton. With the Anderton option, all the turning movements are concentrated right on Anderton. Obviously, with Wallace, those turning movements have to occur at Gladstone, Comox, and Cook and Anderton. So there is a little bit of a degradation in the level of service at those two intersections. It's not to the point where we consider it inappropriate. The level of service, or the average delay, would increase by about 4 or 5 seconds average per vehicle during the peak hour at those locations, with no significant increase in queuing. And what's important also to note is that I understand the town is planning to build or to construct a roundabout at Modelo, Modelo Street and Comox, which will give the community an alternative option to access Comox at a controlled access intersection. So, and that's in 2015, which will roughly coincide with the opening of the development, plus or minus. So they will have a good opportunity to access on the Comox, and will not be required to access on Gladstone if they choose not to. So, and I have read, we did receive copies of all the comments and emails that the residents submitted to the town regarding their concerns. Read through those, and there's some very good information in there, some good insight. Obviously, the residents live there, and they travel those intersections and roadways every day, so they know the intersections well, and what works and what doesn't. So there's some very good insight in there. And there were 3 basic themes that I got out of the three basic concerns that came out of those comments that I'd like to address. With regards to transportation, of course, there were other issues. The first one has to do with the intersection of Gladstone and Comox. There were concerns that it's unsafe. Turn left out of there were concerns with some of the angle parking on Gladstone. And as I already previously stated, I think the concern with the performance of the intersection there is mitigated by the fact that you will have a roundabout in the short term that will allow you to have good access onto Comox. Regarding the angle parking, I guess there were concerns that the roadway isn't wide enough and that vehicles are required to divert across or encroach across the center line to pass through there. That was something I was not aware of. I haven't looked into that in detail. There are guidelines for road widths for angle parking, and I'm sure the town will take it upon themselves to confirm that there is sufficient width there for the angle parking, and if not, that some mitigation will be required for that. The second concern was at Cook and Anderton, that there's, of course, sight distance there at the stop bar. And in fact, that is true. If you're stopped right at the stop bar, the sight distance is not very good. However, it is not uncommon at low-volume intersections that the vehicle is allowed to creep across the stop bar a few meters to the point where he has better sight distance, and that is the case at this location. And the volumes are not high enough. If the queues were 4 or 5 vehicles and you're starting to get a lot of congestion, then I'd be concerned. There is still some concern, and I would suggest that perhaps some of the hedging there can be trimmed back to the property line. Hopefully that will help mitigate that concern. And the only other thing that came through was the traffic volumes, that they're too high, that we're adding a lot of traffic into the neighborhood and the community. And I'd just like to add some perspective to that. I think the existing traffic count shows about 15, 16 vehicles per hour during the peak hour on Wallace Avenue. Our development will be adding about 17 vehicles per hour during the peak hour. So I can understand from the perspective of the residents on Wallace Avenue, that's doubling, basically a 100% increase. So it's, wow, it's a big increase. From my perspective as a traffic engineer, we have a lot of guidelines and things that we use and information throughout North America based on what are suitable traffic volumes for different road classifications. And typically, a street is classified as a quiet residential street if it has no more than about 1,000 vehicles per hour per day. 1,000 vehicles per day translates to about 100 vehicles per hour. It's about a 10 times factor peak hour to daily volume. So at 100 vehicles per day, we're going to have about 30 vehicles per hour, so it's still well under the threshold of what's considered a quiet residential street. So it's a matter of perspective. So those are really the points I wanted to make regarding the development and the impact and our justification for going with the Wallace Avenue option. I'd like to answer any questions.
Okay, members of council may have questions for Mr. Pinkley. So, Councilor McKinnon.
Yes, just to clarify something that you said earlier, is that the Ministry of Transportation, you said, would not approve an Anderton access?
If there was one of their roadways, they would likely not approve a direct access onto an arterial roadway if there was a suitable alternative access, like a local road or frontage road, rear access, laneway, that's what they will if there's no alternative.
Okay, so you said likely not approve, but...
Likely not. I'm not going to say never. It does happen, but it would be unlikely.
Okay, I have a question in that I talked to a couple of the residents there in regards to clarify a couple of points they made in their letters, and some of the residents said that they had had a visit from the developers who had said that they would consider not having using the Wallace Street access and using Anderton access if they were allowed to have a second level in the building, a higher level in the building, the 4 stories. And I needed to ask whether you could clarify whether the Ministry of Transportation would approve it, because if the developers are indeed saying that, and that's true, that seems...
I'm sure I understand. So you're saying the developer would want access onto Anderton if they had a second level?
secondhand information from a resident. The developer said that they would be prepared to have an Anderton access and entrance and departure of Anderton if they were allowed to have a higher, a fourth story of the building. So
I'm not sure
that's
but
not a,
I don't think that would
that doesn't
change.
sound like they had a concern then about the Anderton.
Councillor McKinnon. Councillor McKinnon, I think we need to clarify something. Highways has no jurisdiction over this particular street. And you're aware of that. Highways would not have a say. He's saying that if it was in the Ministry of Highways purview, they would unlikely grant an access. Maybe the CAO can shed some light on that.
Well, that's correct. Ultimately, the decision on access onto Anderton is a town decision.
Yes.
Mr. Pinto is just
That was an
reflecting,
example I gave.
giving his example, yes.
Yes.
In terms of what the residents may have heard from whomever representing the developers, that is news to us in terms of the comment you're making.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that, no. And I don't think it would change our opinion. I would still favor a lawless access.
Well, perhaps being a naive councillor, but it left the impression with me that it would be a win-win if the developer was okay with that and the residents were okay with that. Then we always look for compromises and win-win
You know,
situations.
there are politics that play into these things, and that's why some decisions sometimes change. But if we go technically, based on traffic engineering principles, guidelines, we would prefer to go with lawless avenue access.
Any further questions from members of council? Councillor Fletcher?
Thank you. I'm wondering if you'd speak to the location of the sidewalk, the pedestrian way that comes through the proposed development, and it exits onto Anderton. But there's no crosswalk crossing. It's designated to go up to Cook, cross, and down. And some of the residents, I think, brought a good point forward that indicated that people would likely be prone to simply try and cross as opposed to going north and 100 meters cross, back down. And there's a little pathway on the other side of the road, which would simply draw you. So I wonder if you could speak to a possible crosswalk there and how, from your perspective, that is or is not suitable.
Yeah, if there was a warrant for it and a desire for people to cross there, and if it's only the occasional person that might want to do that, then I would probably say no. There are ones that we look at into providing crosswalks based on the number of people that want to make that movement and the amount of cross flow and how far it is to go to the nearest opportunity. So I have to look at that a little bit more closely. I would, in my opinion, I would suggest that the desire there is not that high, and probably it is fine to go with the Cook if that's where you're planning to put it.
Any further questions from Mr. Pinto? Seeing none, then we'll thank you for your presentation, and we'll be discussing this application later on in the meeting. All right, so moving on to minutes of the meeting of February 5th, council meeting minutes for approval.
Second.
And second on approval. In favor, motion's carried.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, we just received the minutes. So moving on to committee of the whole minutes. Oh, there, just got one. On receipt of the committee of the whole minutes of February 12th.
Move receipt.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And one recommendation of that is around the Regional Tennis Center. Motion to refer that matter to the Regional District with support for a feasibility study funded by other parties and no financial commitments.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then the minutes of the Advisory Planning Commission meeting held January 9th for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. No committee reports. We have the management report at page 29 for receipts.
Second.
No receipt then. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Nothing arising out of that. Okay, moving on then to the Regional District Board meeting minutes for receipt. receipt from January 28th.
So moved.
Second.
On receipt then, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Moving on to bylaws, page 41, we have the bylaw 1765, Comox dog license and pound bylaw for adoption.
Move adoption?
Second.
On adoption, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Under new business, we have at page 45, a report and recommendation that the bylaw 1758, the Lancaster Heights Sanitary Sewer Lift Station Local Area Service Bylaw Amendment, number 1, 2014, be given first, second, and third reading.
So moved.
Second.
First, second, and third reading, Councillor Fletcher.
So, once again, whenever we get to this one, I always get a little nervous and wonder, how are we going to ensure that the sole property owner advises any future property owners of the situation of this lift station? As we all know, caused some angst for some property owners in the original catchment area.
I believe it'll be noted on the title, sorry, not the title, but the tax folio.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what else.
In the past, what we've done is we've provided, once the subdivision is approved and lots are created, but maybe before it goes, the notices on title, we provide letters to the owners of all the lots. And at that time, it's one owner prior to any sales going forward. And then once the notice gets on title, that's our second cover. So it should be, the process we've established, the owner will know, and that information will be passed on to any future owner, be it a developer or be it a homeowner directly.
And that wasn't done in the past, was it?
We've done it on the last few subdivisions. The first time that when the issue came up, it wasn't. Correct.
So I think that's what Councillor Fletcher wants to ensure that happens.
Yes,
It'll be on not on the title, on the tax folio.
that's right.
Thank you.
So it's a better process than before.
Yes.
And this will also reduce the cost for everyone, the ones that are already in the service area.
Correct.
Do we know, will it significantly reduce it?
Your worship, probably not significantly, because the volume of flows from the lift station will go up. Most of the cost is electricity maintenance, and it's related to the volume. It also shortens the life of the pumps, because they'll be pumping more often.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Grant?
No, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. All right, at first, second, and third reading, and all those in favor? Page 51, a report from the planner regarding the Old Brooklyn School site. And this is related to park dedication of the area around the school as shown on the maps that were secured through the disposition of that site to the Christian school by the school district and dedication of lands for park to the town. And in order to complete that process, a park dedication bylaw and official rezoning is required. So there's a series of recommendations here that we can proceed with unless there's questions at the outset.
Can we move them all together?
We probably could. Chief?
Yes. I would like to move recommendations move first and second reading and all the other recommendations with regards to this OCP bylaw amendment.
As set over the agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further on that discussion-wise?
I just have a question,
Yeah.
really not related to this, but is the intention to fence that area at all and separate it from the school, or not? Just leave it open?
Not at this time. Yeah, I don't believe there's some fencing. All right, and there will be a public hearing set for that. Do you receive any further comments from the public? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, and on page 69, we have a report from our planner regarding 335 Anderson Road. And this is on the zoning, development permit application, and development variance permit. So there are a series of recommendations, but I understand Councilor Price declared a conflict earlier, so she'll excuse herself. So certainly open it for any further questions that members of the council may have for the planning department or for staff on this matter? Councillor Fletcher.
For starters, I'm just wondering if staff could perhaps explain to us how the phasing is proposed, like how it's going to unfold. I don't really see that on the report.
Right. Okay. Planner can comment, hopefully? Certainly.
So it's on page 84 of the phasing plan. So the break between the phase plan, essentially the southern 4 buildings facing the Wallace extension,
Oh, I see it there.
yes, would be part of phase 1. So they would develop the Wallace Avenue extension and the southern half essentially of the property is phase 1. And then phase 2 would be 4 buildings to the north.
You see the phasing line there? Maybe not on your screen.
Okay, got it, yep.
So 2 phases essentially, what you're talking about? Okay. Any further, Councillor Fletcher?
No?
Councillor Tom?
I was just wondering that, of the planner, that if this project does proceed, would, during construction phase, would there be access off of Anderton Road for the construction purposes?
My knowledge, there's no existing letdowns in the sidewalk on Anderton Road. So no, unless there was going to be alternative, a temporary access way built onto Anderton.
Pardon me. Would the town allow that, is what I'm asking?
Yes, I mean, if there was if it was designed to standard and it was at the cost of the developer, then yes, we would allow it.
We could make that a condition of the development permit, couldn't we?
We could make that a condition of the zoning, yes, we could work that into it.
For a temporary construction access you're talking about.
You know, this is a phased project, and, you know, there's going to be a lot of construction access, egress, and everything else, and it would have a real impact on the community. And I'm just, you know, I mean, we've heard from the traffic engineer that once it's built out, it's not going to be a huge impact on the community. But I firmly believe that during the construction phase, there could be a real impact on the community. So if we could look at an alternative for that, that would
Okay.
be
We'll
terrific.
take that under advisement for the moment. If there's other questions, Councillor Fletcher.
So just thinking of that, on the southern end, on the Anderton side, the property is bound by 2 other properties. So if this was to be accessed, it would be quite northerly, closer to Cook. And then given if trucks can come and go, then why can't the daily traffic come and go?
I think the difference there, and staff could maybe comment on it, is that we're talking about a temporary construction access, and more permanent access is what you're talking about. But I guess you've got to go back to what the traffic engineer was saying about major arterial route.
Yes. It's something that we can consider, but at this time, I don't think, you know, from a staff perspective, we can provide a response as to what the implications were. But yes, I think for the construction phase, something more on the northerly end of the property would be considered, not further south. But we'd have to get some information from staff.
Councillor Grant?
Well, there is a portion of that land south of where the access to this property that really belongs to the town of Comox, I understand. And I think we could make arrangements for temporary arrangements. I mean, it's all going to be part of the walkway. And it's,
2006 Comox Avenue piece.
yes. It's just a thought that
All right,
I
well,
want to...
our engineer, town engineer is here, and she has her hand up.
I was just going to say, yeah, we could take that into consideration for sure. And I think the difference here is that if they do have just construction access, that they'll have traffic control as well, that we would probably require, so that would be the difference for the access to UAC.
Right. Like,
municipal engineer, construction vehicle access from Anderton Road, and that would then give that direction and would allow us to look at the specifics of the vehicles and what would necessarily be required to do that.
Thank you for that. Any questions before we get to any kind of motion to that effect? Councillor Fletcher?
So, and again, so we're looking at the phasing, that access could work for phase 1, but once phase 2 starts, it's not going to work, is it?
Well, there'll be a point at which, buildings will be getting in the way, yes.
Yeah, but I like the intent is very nice to try and minimize the impact to the neighbors. Yeah.
Right. Okay, anything further? Yes.
Yeah, what this also brought forward was the concern of parking around Gladstone. And so I've seen in this report that, we need to look at the angle parking, I believe, on Gladstone. That, to me, brings another problem forward in that we know that commercial activity in that area has been struggling for parking. So now, if this is going to precipitate us taking away parking from that commercial activity, now we've got another problem on our hand.
Yeah, at this point, I don't know if our engineer can comment on the angle parking.
Yeah, it's something that we'll review. Like, I think I quickly looked at it in regards to, Mr. Petty said, there's obviously there are minimum dimensions that we must meet. I think it's there, and I think that maybe the angle of the parking may be off. I think with some road markings, some painting improvements, that I don't see any additional parking being taken away. Perhaps the first 3 or 4 spots can be small cars, if it is a tight spot at that point, but I think it's definitely something that we can look at.
Yeah, it seemed the pictures showed some very large trucks.
Yeah.
So. TAO?
The street in behind Wallace that goes through between the commercial development and the school site is also not controlled parking in terms of people can park all day. If we had to lose parking on the Gladstone stretch, you could always put 2-hour parking on the other side as well, which would then increase commercial parking for that facility.
Of course, all of this relates to the fee parking at the hospital.
Correct.
Which will be mitigated.
Yeah.
Madam Vice Chair of the hospital.
Is it?
Vice Chair? Check.
My apologies for not making it clear in the report. At this time, this has been treated as any other safety issue, so it's been seen as a safety issue for the existing users of that, and so it's being investigated and will be dealt with under normal procedures, just as part of any kind of a safe traffic movement, as opposed to something directly into this development. So regardless of whether or not this development were to go ahead, we would still look, of course, at the safety implications of that intersection.
Okay, Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, I appreciate the presentation that was made earlier about the traffic safety thing. Will there be another opportunity for neighbors to express concerns or have those concerns explained to them or dealt with in a way that's not just in this public forum? Another opportunity to answer those concerns?
Well, the next forum that this item would be discussed publicly is the public hearing.
But that doesn't prevent anybody from talking to the planning department between now and then, talking to members of council, and I would imagine if anyone has questions specific to the traffic engineer or the developer, they can ask those.
I'm thinking they heard an explanation today, and would they have an opportunity to ask further questions to that before the public hearing?
Yes. Yes, we can, and those questions can be directed either through the planning department or directly, I would assume that Mr. Pinto can speak to his report directly as well, and we can provide contact information.
I'd like to encourage that so that we can clear up some things before the public hearing.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Swift, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Councillor Fletcher, you're back again.
Yes, I am. Just back to that parking piece that I've heard is not really connected to this now. It's a safety issue that's been identified through this process. But Could it be indicated on the outstanding items, Schedule 1, no net loss of commercial parking in the area? Is that?
No, because it's got nothing to do, this is a development permit for another property. I don't think it can be. Planner? Did you hear the question?
I guess the management of the roads is, of course, up to the jurisdiction of council. If council wished to have the results of the investigation brought forward to council and have the possible solutions discussed at council, they can always give staff that direction.
That is probably cleaner.
Yeah, we can deal with that. I mean, these are public streets, so obviously anyone can park on them. They're not designated specifically for that commercial establishment. They have their own parking on site, as you know. And, there are concerns about parking in that area because of the hospital and other reasons. So certainly staff could report back on what the outcome has been. So we have a couple issues there then perhaps, as you heard from the planner, an amendment to Schedule 1 of the outstanding items could be made around the issue of temporary construction access at the discretion of the town engineer. So that would appear under is that under the zoning bylaw or the development permit?
Here under the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you. So, question whether you are ready to make council to make a motion for first and second reading with that additional item Schedule 1.
So do we need the motion on the floor to amend it, or do we make the motion?
We should have it and then amend it. So we'll go first and second reading, and you can make an amendment. Is that what you're suggesting? Are you ready for first and second reading at this time? No?
I just have one more question. On the outstanding items, it was indicated that there would be a stormwater main on the north end of the property. And in the engineer's report, she indicated from the Cook Street residents that they should be connected to that. But I was just wondering, will they be connected? Like, should's kind of vague, but being that it's an outstanding item for them to put the stormwater main along the north end of the property, is it going to be that those Cook residents will connect?
Yes. Oh.
Sorry, yeah, well, there was one question that was brought up regarding residents on Cook, and they had a sump, and they were wondering if this development was going to have an impact on her drainage issues, and we indicated that it wasn't, but then speaking with the consultant, we figured it was a good opportunity to carry that storm up so that they could. They probably will, and I think a lot of them aren't connected because of the grade difference in regards to the perimeter drains, and with the storm is on Cook and on Anderton, so they don't have connections. So this now gives them an opportunity to connect to our system as well, so it's a benefit to us.
But is it mandatory that they connect, or will it be mandatory?
No, I don't see how we can add it, it's up to them if they want to connect or not. I think providing them that ability to connect at this point, which is something
At their cost?
Okay, Councillor Grant and then Planner.
Will they need easements registered on that property in order to connect?
It'll be an SRW within the town, so the
Okay,
town's
so
going
we'll
to take
take
over that
care of it.
mean, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So now if they come to the town, approach the town, they want to be connected, now we have an option, alternative that they could connect with that.
Thank you for that clarification. Planner, anything further?
Yes, Schedule 1 is currently worded to require as part of the development the extension of the main along the north side of the subject property. And the applicant, the town would pay for the difference and any increased cost to provide that service, given the service in, of course, properties to the north, not the subject property. The developer under Schedule 1 would do the statutory right-of-way plan, and the town would be responsible for preparation of the actual statutory right-of-way itself. What this would then provide, we would have a service in the north of those properties. Physically, those properties the north would then connect to. They would then make a request to the town for a connection service and pay our standard connection service billing, just as if it was a main in front of their home.
Councillor Swift?
And what would the cost be then to the individual owner?
Connection service?
Approximately.
It probably minimal because it depends on if there's asphalt cuts or sidewalk state payments, so it'll be less than 1,000.
I can report back to you on that one.
Yeah.
We've got the bylaw.
Okay. All right, so first and second reading of zoning bylaw amendment number 1767. You ready for that?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and then it would be in order now, should you wish to make the amendment?
I would like to amend the bylaw on Schedule 1 to whatever language the planner wants to use with regards to the construction access on the north end of the
Perhaps you can
property
just
line.
recite that again for our...
Yes, we would include a requirement for, as part of the covenants to be registered on title, that at the discretion of the municipal engineer, that a construction access in accordance with standards acceptable to the municipal engineer be constructed on and be utilized on Anderton Road.
Okay, is there a seconder for that amendment?
Second?
Okay, on the amendment, anything further to discuss? All those in favor of the amendment? Okay, and the motion, which is first and second reading as amended. Anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, then we also have to deal with the bylaw 1768, which is the phase development agreement bylaw for first and second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Is that moved and second? Any further questions on the phase development agreements? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Thirdly, that a public hearing be scheduled for these two bylaws, 1767 and 1768.
So moved.
Moved and seconded.
Second.
And discussion? Yes?
Just, is there some residents here, is there any indication of when that might be scheduled?
March 12th, is it? Yes, March 12th.
Tentatively March 12th. Okay, notice, of course, will be given. Okay, any further? All those in favor of that? Motion is carried. And then finally, as set out in the report, there's a recommendation from staff that is a community education initiative. The research paper, Visitable Housing Knowledge Practices and Policies, produced by the Collaborative Knowledge Building and Action for Visitability Housing in Canada for our Canadian Cities project, will be placed on the town's website to raise awareness of changes or choices people can make so their homes can be more visitable for people with mobility challenges.
I'll move that, but can I ask why it's part of this rezoning application?
Planner?
It was raised as a recommendation as part of the advisory planning commission.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Sorry, I didn't wait till the second, so I don't...
It's okay.
I'll second.
I think I heard somebody second. So anything further on that? All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, bring back Councilor Price. Okay, we have reports in from members of council. So I'll start. I missed the last council meeting, so there's a couple things before that one. Attended the Comox Valley Community Foundation Awards ceremony at the rec center. Met with a resident regarding the progress of the Marino Hotel and the waterfront here. Met with Heather Ney of the Transition Housing Group regarding some of their projects. Posted grade 3 Ecole Rob Road class here one morning back in the end of January, and filled a room full of grade 3 students with lots of tough questions. And it was a great experience, except for my attempt at speaking French. And then attended Trevor Roberts' retirement due at the golf course in January. Also had a discussion on the phone with the consultant who's reviewing the Economic Development Society contract. Attended the Royal Page office opening at the Comox Mall, and attended the annual Local Government Leadership Academy in Richmond. Councillor Swift was there as well. 2.5 days full of lots of great information, good speakers, reflections on leadership, and it was, I thought, quite worthwhile. And certainly, as they have hold those somewhat on an annual basis, except for the year of election, following election, and they're certainly well worth attending for anyone who hasn't gone. Participated in the puck drop and tube toss for the Don Raise the Roof project, Glacier Kings game. This past Saturday, attended the top 20 under 40 awards dinner at the Philbrook Center, and then yesterday traveled to Victoria as a guest of our MLA for the provincial budget presentation. So that was well reported on in the press today. No real surprises, steady as they go. And they've got a balanced budget, which of course I told them that's what we're all about, balancing it. I also had the opportunity to meet with Minister Coralie Oakes, Minister of Community Services, and the Minister of Health, Terry Lake, on a more casual basis following the budget presentation. So good to make contact there. And so I'll turn it over to Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you. Since we last met, I attended our regional district financial planning session. And it was my privilege the following day to attend on behalf of Marais at the RCMP interviews for the new IOC coming to our town. Really pleased to announce that I can't remember his rank, so I'm not going to dare say it, but Tim,
Staff Sergeant.
he's a staff sergeant now.
Soon to be inspector.
Right, Inspector. Tim Walton will be joining the community, and I think they'll all find he's going to be a great asset to the attachment and to the community. So that was a really, really interesting experience. Glad I could be a part of that. I also attended the last week the regional solid waste management and regional hospital district meetings, and just yesterday we had a special regional growth strategy workshop at the regional district, and as well as the sewer commission, sports commission, and
Good, thanks. Councillor Swift?
Okay. Well, since I last reported out, it's been some time, so I've got quite a list here. I attended the Comox Valley Housing Task Force and found that to be really interesting. I went and attended the Winter Bites that was going on in Sixth Park some time ago. I attended the Philbrook regular board meeting. Attended the sewer commission meeting from last month and the sewer commission meeting yesterday. I did have an interview with Bill Ogg that was doing the Economic Development Review. I attended the Royal LePage 100th birthday celebration. I went to the local government leadership conference in Richmond with your worship, and it was very interesting. And of note, I thought this time was there was quite a participation from First Nations people. So that was interesting. I went to the 20 under 40 event on the weekend, the regional district workshop on the regional district growth strategy, and I stayed and observed the sports commission meeting and the Cow regional district yesterday.
Great, thank you. Councillor Price?
Yeah, so it's been a quiet time since the last council report. I did talk with the consultant with regard to the Comox Valley Economic Development Review, and it's quite interesting. I think he's going to be having a report out soon. And I will be attending the Comox Archives and Museum Society meeting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, I too attended some of the Winter Bites events there. A great first year kicking that off. Family Day at the Comox Rec, attended the Family Day there. Great turnout of people at our rec center. And initiated have been joining the Comox Valley Patriotic Canadians singing Old Canada at the town square here. At 5 o'clock each day, a Canadian wins a gold medal. And I invite everybody on Sunday. Sunday to end the Olympics, we're going to have a sing Old Canada Sing at 5 o'clock for all of our Olympians, whether they won medals or not, and the Paralympians that will be competing in Sochi shortly. That's my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councillor?
Well, since our last meeting, I attended a regional district financial planning meeting, a regional growth, well, it's a strategy meeting on the regional growth strategy, and it was a three-hour affair, and it really points out a lot of the, I won't call them mistakes, but oversights and things that we missed when we approved the regional growth strategy in the first place. I attended a sports commission meeting, I chaired a sewer commission meeting, attended the regional district committee of the whole meeting. I attended the week before last a solid waste management meeting and a regional district hospital meeting. And on Saturday night, I had the privilege of having dinner with the Director General of the Trade Consulate of Taiwan, so, who was in town for the Lantern Festival up in Cumberland. So I got invited out for dinner with him, so that was weird. And that's my report.
All right, so now we'll move on to the late item, which is the letter requesting support from the Mountaineer Indian Rescue Society for their application for a grant which relates to the Great River Heron habitat, and they're looking for support, a letter of support from us for that.
I would so move that we send them a letter of support.
And a letter of support for their funding application. Further questions? Seeing, no, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I mean, I'm in full support of what you're doing. I just don't know if this would interfere in any way with the deliberations regarding the heron nests and trees and things that are going on regarding the airport. So I don't know if we see this as...
I think what they're talking about is, in particular, to look at putting some signage at various parks, just to create a public awareness around human-bird interaction. I think they probably have identified a few of the existing heron rookeries, I think, which probably relate to that issue at the airport, but I don't believe it's specific to that concern. Anything to add to that, CA?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is more about creating the environment whereby herons can thrive. People often forget that birds, when they're scared up from their feeding, lose a lot of energy, and it can cause a lot of problems, particularly at nesting time when they're feeding the young. So I think that this is an educational program largely, and an identification of what we have here, and we are incredibly lucky to have so many of these birds here.
Councillor Grant?
Well, I wonder if we could put a caveat in our support of this, that as long as it does not impact the flight lines and sight lines at CFB Comox.
We could certainly do that. We'd have to figure out how to word that in our letter, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would just note that they specifically say they want 4 to 5 signs to place in various parks. Point Homes, Boat Ramp, Blue Spit, Royston Rex, Dyke Road. So they're wanting to place these signs in parks.
If they get the funding.
If they get the funding. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to go anywhere other than parks.
Certainly, I would suggest that if they did put any signs up, that would be something, I would assume they'd talk to our Parks Department about.
Yes, they'd have to talk to our Parks Department, and we'd have to look at the process of a sign permit, because we do have a sign bylaw in town, so we would control it through that manner.
I do believe that the properties in question related to the airport are in Area B, are they not?
Yes.
So that's
Okay, so then,
yeah. So with those concerns noted, a letter of support could be written, and we'll remind them if they do want to put up signs that they have to get our permit. All right, anything further? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Any questions from the media at this time? Any questions from members of the public? Seeing none? Okay, motion to adjourn this meeting will be in order.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried.